Cardano is not unlike a virus. The larger crypto ecosystem has contracted this virus. For a long time, it could be denied since there were no symptoms. There weren't even any smart contracts. There were no NFTs. They didn't see any DeFi. Where was the TVL? Crypto didn't even feel like it was infected. Then the symptoms started to stack up in 2021. By 2022, the spread of the virus started to seem like it wouldn't be contained. Soon, the entire crypto space would know that you could have a truly decentralized Gen 3 smart contract platform that was also secure, scalable, not dominated by VCs, and not broken by fees. Ready? Let's go. Today, we've got a bunch of disparate news items. We're going to talk about some new info on the Clay Nation Snoop Dogg collaboration, Baked Nation, an award for Cardano Summit 2021, Emurgo's investment in Fourier Labs, SingularityNet's Hypercycle sidechain, and a new player, complaining about Bitcoin energy usage. If these videos are bringing you value each weekday, please consider delegating to the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. Following news of the Clay Nation Snoop Dogg collaboration last week, we've gotten some more details about the Baked Nation and what the Baked Nation will be exactly. Here is a tweet from Big Kahuna. It looks like it's a screenshot from Discord or somewhere else. And it gives us a date. It gives us a date of April 10th for land sales in the Baked Nation. They say there are going to be 12,600 pitches. The parcels are called pitches because of the music festival theme. And then they give us some information about how many of these spots, looks like 1,000 will be reserved for Clay Nation holders, 500 reserved for the Good Charlotte holders. You're probably aware of both those NFT collections. That's for the Baked Nation stuff. And interestingly, every pitch will be paired with a collectible Clay Snoop NFT. More on that later. This will act as a key to future unreleased content. And there are also two other areas, it looks like. Something called the Sonic Village and something called the Underworld. It looks like April 12th is also, or April 10th, sorry, is also the date on those. Notice that it looks like price is TBA. I'm really curious to see what the price is. Obviously, this will be a very highly anticipated NFT drop. So I'm curious to see what exactly the price will be on this, because they could probably keep it low, but you've got a pretty big name celebrity who's probably used to being remunerated pretty heavily on anything he puts his name on. So could also be a very high price for these NFTs. I'm curious to see, is it low, high, something reasonable, something out of this world? I think it could be any of the above. Very curious to see what it is, though. We also saw reports like this: confirmed commercial ownership of Snoop songs with Baked Nation. And this person seems very excited about that. I don't know what the source is on any of this. There was also an interview with Lena of Clay Nation where she talked about something that sounded like this, but I'm really interested to see the details on this. There was definitely talk of some release of new music, whether or not ownership of these Baked Nation plots or something related to this Baked Nation campaign is indicative of some kind of ownership of unreleased Snoop songs. Very, very interesting, obviously. I don't think we've had a celebrity this big involved in the Cardano ecosystem to this point at all. So just the fact he's involved in this NFT release is pretty huge. But if there's actual unreleased Snoop music that's going to be, somehow wrapped up in the ownership of anything having to do with this Baked Nation campaign, that's pretty huge, if true. This next bit of news will probably come as no surprise to anyone who actually attended the Cardano Summit 2021, either virtually or in person. First Event UK says, winners, what a night. So proud of the team that brought together Cardano Summit 2021 and the amazing Input Output HK, who we adored working with on the Cardano Summit. And you can see from the picture here, it looks like they won Best Digital Conference, budget over, looks like £30,000. This is not a surprise to me at all. They built an entire virtual world for the summit, along with kind of an NFT treasure hunt, which hopefully is coming to an end soon. Hopefully we'll actually get those NFTs, as we've covered many times in this channel, but especially recently. And the live event was super cool as well. So no surprise they won this event. I mean, it'd be hard. I have no idea how much IOHK actually spent on the event itself, but it was, man, it was pretty well done. So not a surprise at all that they won an award for the Cardano Summit 2021. I'm super curious to see what the next Cardano Summits look like. Emurgo is letting us know the investment Emurgo has made in Fourier Labs will allow both Cardano's Plutus-based smart contracts and Ethereum virtual machine Solidity-based smart contracts to be fully deployed on Cardano. This is kind of some interesting news. If you're a fan of Cardano's functionally programmed smart contracts, this might seem almost a little alarming. You're like, wait, how are they both going to be fully deployed on Cardano? Is there something I don't know? Are we replacing Plutus with something more EVM Solidity-ish? What is going on here? So if you scroll down, it looks like other people had the same questions. Emurgo says, thereby strengthening decentralized application and user adoption of the Cardano ecosystem through Cardano's inherent lower transaction fees, higher scalability, and security. Makes sense. And if we scroll down here, this poster asks the right question: deployed on Cardano or a side chain? They say not side chain, build Ethereum virtual machine at core. And again, you're like, wait a second, what's going on? So if we look at their actual Twitter profile, they say Fourier protocol is Plutus native EVM on Cardano with SDK and cross-chain bridge, the first industry solution to process account-based transactions on EUTXO ledger. So it sounds like they're just creating EVM compatibility inside of Plutus, not some kind of, when they say let's build EVM at core, it sounds like we're replacing Plutus with Solidity, but I think what they're really doing is just building out EVM compatibility inside of Plutus, which, whether you hate the idea of Solidity and love Plutus, or hate Plutus and wish we were EVM from Go, I think adding EVM compatibility sort of inside Plutus is probably not a bad thing. Obviously, we've already got it in a side chain in Milkomeda, and soon we'll have it in Mamba, both of which are side chains that apparently DeFi Llama is not going to count toward our TVL. That's on them. But it sounds like we might also, if Fourier Labs is successful in their goal here, we might also have EVM compatibility inside of Plutus, which might change DeFi Llama's ability to not count EVM-based contracts towards the Cardano TVL. We've covered this before, but their rationale is that a sidechain should only count toward the base layer's TVL if the sidechain or other L2 inherits the security from the base layer, which apparently Milkomeda does not, and I think we've read that Mamba will not either. You'll probably remember that in the Cardano 360, Ben Goertzel was talking about working on a Singularity Net sidechain called Hypercycle. Well, it looks like we've learned a little bit more about it. They say Hypercycle is a novel blockchain, a convergence of radical technologies that will help in providing the precise infrastructure required to realize a Singularity Net vision. They're going to go deeper on that in a second. They say a new layer 2 chain designed to be operative as a side chain on the Cardano network. So if we go down below here, they explain Hypercycle will be a paradigm shift for AI on blockchain, opening doors to, and here's where what I think they're actually trying to achieve, scalable AI microtransactions with revolutionary speed and efficiency needed for Singularity Net to fulfill its original mission of serving as the AI operating system for the emerging AGI global brain. So they need to do a bunch of microtransactions for this AGI global brain to do its thing as an operating system, and they need it to be really fast and efficient. So they're creating this Hypercycle sidechain. They say the AI code running on SingularityNet is roughly the same as the code running outside SingularityNet, except its AI interacts with other AI agents. Hypercycle will move things to new level, allowing developers to write AI code that leverages blockchain for its internal ops. Okay, so this is going to be the operating system, and they're going to leverage blockchain to to create that operating system. They've got something called TOTA, which is ledgerless, so there is no ledger, and they say it is fundamentally more decentralized. Each packet of information transmitted in the network, a TOTA file, contains an encrypted record of its own history and some fraction of the histories of its neighbors. So you can obviously understand how you can sort of piece together sort of a network of these TOTA files if each one contains an encrypted record of its own history and also a piece of the histories of its neighbors. They say the ledgers of the whole network exist implicitly among the totality of records contained in the various TOTA files and never has to be assembled as a whole entity. Proof of reputation is one of the ingredients of Hypercycle, involving another level of sophistication beyond proof of stake. I have no idea what this proof of reputation is. It sounds interesting. They say consider blockchain as a sort of social network using a mathematical reputation system to give reputation points to actors that are rated as beneficial. So this sounds like it could be great on paper. It sounds like it could be great, or could be overly ambitious. I'm excited to see which one of those it is. The design of Hypercycle consensus mechanisms combines TOTA and proof of reputation to specifically serve the needs of networks of AI agents and their users. So interesting, okay? What next? Hypercycle will use Hydra to run Plutus smart contracts in a network populated by TOTA files living in rings regulated by proof of reputation and TOTA consensus mechanisms, and using Hydra to interface between the Hypercycle and the main Cardano chain. So we got this Hypercycle side chain kind of floating out there, and it's got these TOTA files living in rings regulated by proof of reputation and also TOTA consensus mechanisms. And then Hydra will kind of be the middleman between that side chain and the main Cardano chain. Okay, kind of makes sense. Hypercycle will host additional software library functions exclusively available for Plutus scripts. I like that. If you're going to add additional software libraries that Plutus scripts can use, that's a good thing. The meta language will be deployed as a Haskell framework and utilized to create Plutus-based DSLs, domain-specific languages, and low no-code interfaces for different vertical applications. Low no-code interfaces, I like that. Given I've always liked the concept of Marlowe, so if they're going to add more low and no-code interfaces, I think that's fantastic. This is all pretty ambitious, but I mean, if somebody could pull this off, it's probably a guy like Ben Goertzel. If we look down here in the same post, they've got a SingularityNet and Cardano Hypercycle roadmap, which seems to start out straightforward enough and then gets pretty crazy when we get down around 2025. So in Q3 2022, they've got things like Hypercycle Early Alpha, okay. Q1 2023, Hypercycle Token Liquidity Pools, okay. Again, sounds interesting. Q3 2023, Plutus running on Hypercycle. Then Q4, this is Q4 of next year, Hypercycle Beta. And then in Q1 2024, we see SingularityNet on Hypercycle Alpha. And then a bunch of additional iterations. They get to a Hypercycle 1.0 in Q4 2024, pretty far out there. And then they start using a bunch of words that I don't even know the relationship between most of these words. OpenCog, Hyperon, distributed atom space for Hypercycle, hierarchical sharding. Are you just trolling us, Ben Goertzel? What are those words supposed to mean? And then in Q4 2025, OpenCog, Hyperon, fully decentralized Hypercycle version. I have no idea what any of those words mean. Hopefully, one of you out there who is super deep in the SingularityNet world knows exactly what they're talking about with these Q2 2025 and Q4 2025 roadmap items. Finally, as expected, it looks like the chorus of voices sounding the alarm about proof of work and its environmental impact is only getting louder and stronger. Here we see Greenpeace USA posting, Bitcoin is reviving shuttered coal plants and giving a lifeline to the gas industry. Just when we need to be racing to decarbonize the entire economy, it's time to hashtag change the code and hashtag clean up Bitcoin. This is interesting. Greenpeace, apparently, at least the Greenpeace USA arm of Greenpeace, has decided that they are going after Bitcoin. And I think this is a trend we're just going to see sort of amplifying and getting stronger and stronger. I think it's sort of a combination of two things. There's the base environmental impact thing, and then it's also easy to paint Bitcoiners as the bad guy, because when people think about Bitcoin, they sort of have this there's this connotation of people getting rich for nothing. And one thing people don't like is when other people get rich for no reason. They don't like that. They want to believe that people got rich because they worked really, really hard, or they did something to deserve getting rich. But definitely when you bring up the topic of Bitcoin, there's a little bit of this notion that people involved in Bitcoin somehow got rich and they didn't deserve to get rich. And then somebody like Greenpeace, some organization like Greenpeace, finds out those same people are also having an impact on the environment by, in the words of Greenpeace, reviving coal plants and giving a lifeline to the gas industry makes Bitcoin a really easy target. I think you're going to see a lot of different groups like this sort of joining the voices, sort of condemning Bitcoin for its environmental impact and all of proof of work by extension. Here you can see they don't even mention proof of work. They're like, just Bitcoin. We're just concerned about Bitcoin. Who knows? Maybe they don't even realize that there are other proof of work protocols. Ghost Chain here says, no need to change the code. Just come and build on Cardano. Stop inventing excuses at Greenpeace USA. I hope everybody is starting out a great week and that none of you are out there unshuttering coal plants or giving a lifeline to the gas industry. Hopefully you're doing other things with your Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday start to this week. And I will talk to you tomorrow.